Welcome to the Obvious Podcast, episode number 91. I'm Sonny Maken, CEO at ABC Florida East Coast.
And I'm Peter Dyga, President and CEO at the ABC Florida East Coast.
You are listening or watching our podcast where all opinions reflected are our own unless we say otherwise.
Love the show? Subscribe on any major podcast platform or watch us in action on YouTube, which really is worth it.
Yeah.
Follow the Obvious Podcast on Instagram, X, and True Social, and now on TikTok. All the links you need are in the show notes. You can reach out to us anytime at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. And if you're enjoying the ride, we ask you to help others find us by leaving a review wherever you listen. Happy Friday, Sonny.
Happy Friday. Did you have a good Memorial Day weekend?
I had a great Memorial Day
That was a
weekend.
great episode. I really enjoyed that episode. We need to always remember what brings America its freedom and what makes America great. And it's people.
Absolutely. A lot of people have sacrificed all. So anyway, even if just for a moment, you keep that in heart or in mind over the weekend, that was great. So anyway.
All right. So today I wanted to talk to you about something that I thought was interesting. You know, I'm a big fan of Megyn Kelly, and I listen to her show.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Not every day, but regularly.
Is that another podcast?
Yeah.
Or is that
she used to be on Fox News.
I'm aware of her, but I don't know that I've ever seen the show.
And it's long. I mean, it's, we try to do like 20-minute episodes. Her show can
These people do an hour, two, three.
And it's guest driven and news driven, and it's So I'm listening
a lot of clips from like Bill Maher,
Bill Maher.
And his like interviews with people, which I find the clips fascinating. So, but I haven't really got into watching the whole shows. People who do that.
Speaking of clips,
sit down with
I know we've been getting a lot of feedback, negative feedback on TikTok from the young liberals.
Yeah.
The only thing I would ask is watch the whole show, right? Like, I really don't want to hear your opinion based on a clip that you've seen, because you're missing important context. I mean, the whole idea of a clip is to get you to see the episode and then engage. So if you want to engage.
Earlier before a show about young kids rediscovering,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, where did you see this?
Basic truths. It was on somewhere on socials, like Gen Z is out there. Have you discovered books yet? Like, it's hilarious. Instead of Kindle, they use this thing made from trees called paper.
Right. It's like you can flip the pages. I mean, it's fun. It's amazing the knowledge that's in.
You never have to worry about the battery running out or recharging a book. It's.
Yeah, it's like have you tried this reason thing or logic? It's like really under
Gen Z. Anyway, so I'm listening to Megyn Kelly, and we have to get back on track. I'm listening to Megyn Kelly, and she has on her guest. Tucker Carlson. Remember him?
Boy, I do remember him. Man, when he was on Fox, I loved his show. I thought it was the best show. The guy was super smart, but I don't know. I've lost interest.
Yeah.
And I don't follow him very closely anymore.
Before people get triggered, this episode is not about Tucker Carlson or Tucker Carlson's opinions. But Tucker Carlson said something that got me thinking, and I was in the car listening to this with my daughter, and I'm like, he's wrong. And I kind of gave my daughter some examples, and she's like, "You should be teaching in college."
And that's what we want to talk about.
Right. That's what we want to talk about. But well, let me explain to you what he said. So they're discussing, and this was a few weeks ago, and they're discussing Trump and the Iran war and why Tucker's against the Iran
Shocking.
war. Right. And he's like, "Look, I'm not an anti-Semite. I know Jewish people. I love Jewish people." So Megyn Kelly makes a point, asks him a question, and she basically says, "Tucker, I get it. He's really upset you with the war thing, but what about the other issues where I agree with him and would support him again, him being the president?" And she's talking about
she brought up too specific, although some people could argue there could be a whole litany of things.
Yeah, but she specifically brought up the trans issue and immigration. Right? He shut the border down. And
by trans issue, you mean the whole men competing in women's sports,
and things like that.
Yeah, right. And mutilating mutilating kids
and all that
on their own decision without anyway.
So this is Megyn Kelly's point. This is not our opinion. I'm just repeating what Megyn Kelly said, just so we're clear. Megyn Kelly's point was, okay, you and I, Tucker and I, she's referring to herself. Tucker and I disagree with the president on the Iran war, but because of the good that he's done in other areas, I would still vote for him again. Yeah. And she is specifically referring to those two issues. And now this is what really got me going, because this is Tucker's response to her. He's like, look, I understand what you're saying. I agree with you. He's been good on trans issues. He's been good on immigration issues. But to me, war is the most important thing because war changes societies.
And your brain immediately, which again, fascinated by your brain, Sonny.
Very few people say that.
Your brain immediately was like, behold it, right?
Yeah.
You were like,
I was like, hold it. That's not true. You could argue that point that war changes countries and societies in fundamental ways. You could argue that point historically, and you could argue that point about World War I. You could argue that point about World War II. Post World War II, that is a very difficult point to argue. Now, you could argue. So let's take the Middle East, for example. When George Bush bombed the crap out of Iraq, you could argue that fundamentally changed Iraq. Agreed. I'm not. So if you're on the receiving end of sort of American might, it's going to change your society. No doubt about that.
okay.
Right?
What about the Iranian 47-year war on America?
It has changed the lives of those people whose lives they took, or the families of the
About
lives that they took.
I don't know, global stability and peace.
It's had a negative impact on global stability and peace. But it hasn't fundamentally transformed society.
Okay.
That was his point. Wars transform society. And my whole point is wars have not transformed society. And let's just sort of be even more specific in terms of my thinking. So wars have not transformed Western Europe and Western society since World War II. Right? You could argue.
But you had a counter thesis as well, right?
Yes.
It wasn't just
my
like
counter
you were
thesis
like,
my counter thesis was this. I should really get
which again, by the way, is a good trait. Everybody should have it. You should be questioning, right? So again, just because somebody says something, like you should be processing in your brain. Can I think of examples where that may or may not be true? And that's what happened in this case with you. And you thought, actually, you think there's something more significant, right?
I could easily argue that Western civilization has been changed more by immigration than any war. Certainly World War II, post World War II, Western civilization has been changed more by immigration than any war.
Why? How could that be, Sonny?
Right?
Has it changed Europe?
Yeah, they've changed Western Europe.
Has it changed the?
They've changed Britain.
Has it changed the United States?
It's changed, and immigration has had a huge impact on the United States.
How has it changed those areas, Sonny?
I mean, it's been good and bad. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's all been sort of negative and the world is and the sky is falling. I think England has really benefited from the food that the immigrants have brought because their cuisine is absolutely garbage.
Oh, yum.
And if you want to send us hate mail, it's the obvious at ABC East Florida.
Don't forget it.
You cannot, by
That's going to be a TikTok clip.
You cannot, by any standard, any imagination, defend British cuisine. You can't. Right?
Beef Wellington, Yorkshire pudding.
Okay. Even the crappiest places in the world have like something nice. I get it, right? Like fish and chips. You could argue fish and chips, right? But most British food is absolute garbage, and we know it, and everyone knows it. I remember my first time in England going to a really nice pub and asking for a chicken sandwich, and it was boiled chicken breast with the crust cut off, and it was white bread and chicken breast with mayo and nothing else. The most horrendous thing I'd ever eaten, and it was 22 pounds, and I was really upset by it. And then I went to a Syrian restaurant, had an amazing meal. So I think Britain has really.
But in this day and age, you really need immigration to better your culinary choices. I mean, we live in a worldwide culture. You don't really, anyway.
Right. I mean, that's yes.
Worldwide.
But I think England or United Kingdom has really sort of.
I know you're trying to be
transformed by immigration. I feel like France has been transformed by immigration.
But in what way?
I think because the kind of immigration that they have brought post World War II is the kind of immigration that has refused to assimilate. I think what has made
the ding, 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 ding.
What has really allowed America to thrive is that most immigrants come to America and assimilate and adopt American values and adopt American culture and fight to be successful as an American. And I think that idea of American immigration,
is that a given?
That's starting to change, by the way.
I was going to say, is that a given?
No, I think that's not a given. As you saw,
why you say U.S.
I don't want to say it. I'm going to get so much hate mail if I said my true opinion on this issue, but I'm not. I can't say it. But I just
can you sugarcoat it? Come on, Sonny. Let's see how good you are.
This is going to be a very controversial episode.
So I asked because I have an opinion, and I think it has, in large part, to a couple things. Well, one, quite frankly, I think being discerning who you let in.
Okay,
right.
I can give you that.
So, having open borders as opposed to the million people that this country lets in legally every year, and having a very deliberate assessment, of why you're coming and what you hope to achieve, and so I think we have to be.
That's a great way to put it.
I think we have to be very discerning about that. I think that's one of the things, and the other thing I think is the pace, and I think that's the thing that's caught us up mostly in the last decade or two. Because if the pace overwhelms the culture's ability to assimilate people into the cultural norms, and quite frankly, I complain about this a lot, and I could give you an example from my neighborhood. I live in a pretty
diverse neighborhood,
diverse
town.
Middle class, neighborhood. And I've just seen changes, quite frankly, as the neighborhood became less,
white,
multi-generational Americans, as opposed to first generation or whatnot Americans, to where, people cutting across your lawn, people not taking care of their lawn, people having their play furniture out in the front yard.
Peter reminds me of Clint Eastwood in that movie where he just sits in his porch and he tells.
I love Clint Eastwood. Which show are we talking about? Which movie? You got all the movie references.
Get off my lawn.
No, but I think seriously though, tell me if you agree that the pace.
Yeah, I think the pace has overwhelmed, and you can especially see this in Europe, where they go into these small towns that are very heterogeneous, and then they flood them with immigrants. And these are not immigrants. For the most part, there's obviously exceptions to all of this. For the most part, that are looking to assimilate. They're looking to sort of establish their own cultural dominance.
So let me try to redeem myself. I think one of the
I compared you to Clint Eastwood. There's nothing to redeem yourself. By the way, none of this is even the point of the episode, so we need to kind of get to that. So we've gotten. This was not meant to be an immigration conversation.
Well, my job is to distract, and your job is to keep us focused. So I was just going to say, I think what makes immigration the most beautiful thing to me is because you generally try to take the best of both cultures. That to me is what makes immigration so powerful.
Yes.
And why the melting pot of who we are and have been as a country was so powerful is because you might say those things, not so great, leave those behind.
Yeah.
But the love of family and the family culture and those kind of things, bring them with you and make them a stronger part of the American culture. But they also, a lot of immigrants came and they were like, the ambition and the hard work will get you ahead, and anyway, and we could go on and on with all sorts of. So you take the best of both cultures, and if you do that at the right pace, then you end up things melting together as opposed to being glumpy, or a bad melting pot experience where the cheese is not,
a melting pot as opposed to a tossed salad.
Yeah.
Right. But I think most immigrants, again, oh my gosh, I got to get to the point of the show. But most immigrants were really shocked. Remember when that whole Somali daycare issue popped up in Minnesota?
Oh yeah,
right. Because I don't think most assimilated, hardworking immigrants are here to commit fraud. Right.
Right.
They're here to sort of, work in their own lives, contribute to society, do better, really do better for their kids. Right. And
as opposed to just get on the gravy train.
Exactly.
Which unfortunately is, yeah.
But then you see a glaring sort of news story like.
But certain congressional folks would tell you you're just characterizing, placing a whole immigrant class,
right,
in the
a stereotype. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've heard Somali stereotypes from other African immigrants that would leave you very, very surprised. But look, obviously not every Somali is a criminal. Not every immigrant's a criminal. That's not the point of this conversation.
Was it Rush Limbaugh that used to say, "What's the point?"
Right.
Was it
anyway?
They used to say that to his scholars when they
what's the point? Yeah.
Wouldn't get to a question.
Yeah. So the point of this whole show, which was not immigration,
it wasn't,
is how to, because I feel like Tucker Carlson misdiagnosed a threat.
That's right.
Right. He misdiagnosed a threat to the country,
to the current, to the world,
in his sort of
Western.
Yeah, it's not immigration and trans issues; it's war. No, You're wrong.
Yeah.
More changes happen from immigration. So what I wanted to talk about was, and we're probably going to have to do this as a two-parter because I think we're running out of time. What I really wanted to talk about was kind of hidden threats, or how to pay attention.
Oh yeah.
How to do your risk analysis and your threat analysis accurately, so you don't
Fall into the same trap?
into the same trap that Tucker Carlson fell into.
Okay.
That's really
Let's
what
get
I
into
wanted
it.
to talk
Let's
about. That's
see.
really sort of what the point of the episode was.
In what sense? You mean like when it comes to the work we do, or
Yeah.
Association.
Organizationally, like what we do, right? How do we identify
is this where I ring the bell?
this is where you can ring the bell.
right.
How do we as an organization, right? Because I know you use the phrase association management all the time, but really, we're not really association managers. We are industry protectors, right? We are trying to fight and protect an
Now
industry.
you're piquing my interest.
Right? So as industry protectors, we can't really protect an industry if we don't do a good job analytically and
What the
strategically
real risks are.
understanding what the real risks are.
All right. So how do you do that
And
as a person?
I don't
a
think
better
we-
job than what you think Tucker
Right.
did, or
Well, Tucker, I think, did a terrible job because he's. And again, I'm not speaking on Tucker's motivations or whatever. Like, he knows that obviously way better than I know that, but he does a good job misdiagnosing.
not a dumb guy either.
No,
I
he's
mean,
not a
very,
dumb
so
And there's been all sorts of proclamations about him getting money from the Middle East and the Qatari relationship, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So again, not the point of the show. And I'm not really interested in why he misdiagnosed it, but he misdiagnosed it and it got me thinking,
Okay.
how do we accurately diagnose the threat? Because I think Europe, well, broadly has misdiagnosed
clearly
it.
the way you do that, Sonny, is whoever the squeaky wheel is.
Right. Okay. Explain that.
Well, I don't know. If the subject is how to avoid this, then
Right.
I'm obviously tongue in cheek.
Right.
I'm being sarcastic, but it's not always. It could be. I mean, it doesn't automatically disqualify it, but you don't just do things just because it's the squeakiest wheel.
Right.
And it would be a lot easier to just address it so that you can move on because it's the path of least resistance. So that's what I'm trying to say. In fact, usually it's not the path of least resistance. Usually it's it's hard come.
All right.
Takes quite a bit of thinking and work and trying to dig into, so I don't, I'm trying to think here at the association. I mean, I think you read a lot of stuff about, meetings and strategic planning sessions and surveys. And, you want to make sure that the quiet person is actually given an opportunity too, because they might have
That's
something
a really
to
good
say.
point. That's a really good
Right? You management school and all this stuff, it's always a good leader is going to make sure that you don't just let somebody dominate the conversation and you make an opportunity for everybody to provide some input, and making sure you're doing a good job of, making sure you've got a broad spectrum of input. So, I mean, that's one way.
Okay.
I would say. I can see this episode is we're getting into it here.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to extend this, I think.
Yeah.
For part 2.
We'll have to go to part 2.
Sometimes we don't know that going into it, but right.
but
So.
Well, that's the beauty of a
let's-
podcast, right?
Yeah. So, any event, that's great because this is going in a direction that hopefully is of interest to others as much as it is to us and the conversation. So let's finish this up in a part 2.
All right. Thank you for joining us this Friday. And we are grateful for your time, and we look forward to serving you another episode, part 2 of this episode next Friday.
And for comments, you can send us an email at any time at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. Love to hear from you. Until next time, ciao.
Take care.